Framed, Part 2. 29th of March. Cars today. Red Ford car, Mrs. Stannard. Stop for petrol, a Twix and firelighters. Vauxhall Astra Estate, 1.9 CDTI, Mr. Davis, just reverse him. Blue Lexus, Mr. Choi, stop for petrol. White Montego, Mr. Evans, noisy gearbox and squeaky windscreen wiper. Red Toyota Prius, T4 automatic, Dr. Ramanan and family. Fill up, oil check, air check, brake fluid and party pack of hula hoops. Green Daihatsu Copen, Mrs. Egerton. Weather, wet. Note, no ball games. This one's an easy one to remember. Miss Stannard came round to show us a new car, top speed 108 miles per hour, that she got from the insurance people, and I became the very last boy in Manor Town. I remember Dr. Ramanan coming in for a big pack of hula hoops because that was the last time I saw Mohan. Mohan was the only other boy in our school, and on the 29th of March, he moved out. When I first started at Manor Elementary, there were 10 other boys, just enough for a game of a five-a-side, with one man on the bench. Unfortunately, 5 of them were the Ellis brothers, so when Mr. Ellis went off to London to work on the new Thames barrier, that was half the boys in the school gone, and no more five-a-side, just 3-a-side. It was okay if you had rush goalies. Then Terry Taylor's man went off to learn to be a teacher, and Terry went with her. Then Wayne and Lewis Martin moved to Manchester because their new dad was in computers. He bought them a season ticket for City, and we were down to just kicking the ball around. Then Mr. Ellis told Paddy Parry's dad that he could get him work on the new barrier too, so off went Paddy, leaving me and Mohan with nothing to play except penalties. The new barrier, by the way, is this big floating wall thing that's supposed to stop London flooding again. They started to build it when the old barrier broke that time. Amazing that a place the size of London has to ask a little place like Manor for help to build its barriers. But that's how good Manor is, I suppose. When he came in to pay, Dr. Ramanan said to Mam, "I won't say goodbye, Mrs. Hughes, because I'll still be your doctor. We hope to see you very often." Which is not really what you want your doctor to say. "It's a shame," said Dad. "I'm sad to leave the people, but really there's nothing here for us now." "Nothing here? There's everything here. There's an off licence, open from 6:30 p.m, a spa, only one accompanied child allowed in at any one time, unisex hairdressing at Curl Up and Dye, Mr. Ellis's chemist shop, and Mr. Davis's butcher shop, which is always meet to please you, always pleased to meet you, written over the door. This isn't strictly true, as he's never pleased to meet you. When you go in, he says, well, you tell him what you want, he weighs it out, and then he just points to the price on the till. Oh, there's a shop called Save a Packet, where you save money because you don't have packets. They have these big bins full of dry goods, and you scoop out as much washing powder or cornflakes or whatever as you like, and then you pay at the till. We never go in there because Mum likes to know what she's buying, and of course the stuff in the barrels has no brand name or ingredients or sell-by date. The best shop is the Mountain Rescue charity shop. They sell all kinds of things there. For instance, I got a skateboard there once for £3.50. When Jay Porty saw it, she said it used to be hers, but she'd given it away to the poor children, and now you've got it, so you must be poor. Which is a bit mad, because the shop isn't for poor children, it's for lost and injured mountaineers. I love looking in the window because it's different every time. Sometimes a thing, say a hat, will be in the window, and the next day it's gone. And then you'll see it somewhere in Manor, for instance, on Mr. Morgan's head. And then there's Waterloo Park. That's a fantastic park that used to have a boating lake, a water feature and an indoor pavilion in case it rains. The pavilion was like a wooden house that had 2 ping pong tables in it, and of course a snooker table. Manor used to be globally famous for snooker tables. The quarry at the top of Madden Mountain is used to produce the smoothest slate in Wales. It's closed now, but when it was open, all the best snooker tables in the world were made of Manor slate. Minnie says there's one in Buckingham Palace, and one in the Crucible in Sheffield, and there is one in the pavilion in Waterloo Park. It's still there, but you can't see it because the pavilion is padlocked, and the windows are boarded up. The lake and pavilion were closed a few years back because of all these problems with insurance, but it's still a great park. For instance, round the lake there's a great big wooden fence with a mural on it showing scenes from the life of Elvis Presley. That was Mr. Davis's idea. He actually saw Elvis once, in Harlech-Home and Bargain, when everyone else thought he was dead. When they quarried the slate, they more or less hollowed out the mountain. They threw the bits they couldn't use all over the top of the mountain. All the other mountains around here have grass on the top. Ours is covered in broken slate. Basically, they turned the mountain inside out. I mean, how many towns have got an inside-out mountain at the end of the high street? Slate is legend, by the way, and not just snooker tables. You can make roofing tiles, doorsteps, fireplaces, floor tiles, anything. In Manord we've got slate roofs, slate doorsteps, slate windowsills. There's even a slate pillar box, and by our school gates slate, a statue of a man made of slate, and a slate bus shelter with a sign on the gable that says no ball games. And when you go indoors, slate tiles on the kitchen floor and a slate clock we've got. You can write on slate too. They used to use it for blackboards in school. On the slate bus shelter someone has written, "Get me out of here," in great big letters. They're only joking, of course. That's the thing about Manord people. They've got a sense of humour. As Dad says, they have to or they wouldn't stay here. The whole of Manord, from the pub at the bottom of our garage at the top, is one colour. Slate colour. Grey, in fact, as Dad says. It's not the most interesting colour in the world, but it does go with the clouds. The only thing in Manord that's not grey, apart from the Elvis mural, is the cars. Dr. Ramanand's car, for instance, was that deep red you only get on a Toyota. It looked like a big lady's fingernail. As he started up the engine, Dad said to him, "Manord has the lowest crime rate in Britain, Doc. You can't sniff at that." Mr. Ramanand said, "It also has the highest rainfall, of course, and perhaps the two are related." And then they went. I saw Mohan looking out at the heated rear window, and I gave him a wave and thought, there goes my last chance at a game of footy. It was not that Mohan was much good. He had a left foot you could open tins with, but it was a bit random, which meant that he spent most of the afternoon climbing over the wall to get the ball back and not developing your skills at all. But it was better than nothing, which is what I have now. When the Ramanand's Toyota pulled off out the forecourt, I remember thinking that the steering looked a bit mushy. I said to Dad, "The steering looks a bit mushy." I'm sure they know how to start out steering in Blaino. And as the Toyota drove away, he just kept staring at the number plate. I do that sometimes. See how far away something goes before you can't see it properly. I said to him, "Fancy a game of penalties after tea?" "No thank you," he said, and he went off into the workshop and shut the door behind him, even though there was no car in there for him to work on. Tom's man came to collect him in a little copen. Tom wanted to say goodnight to Dad, but Minnie told him not to bother as he was in a bad mood. "Why's that then?" said Tom. Minnie said, "You know you're not supposed to count your chickens before they've hatched. Well, imagine if you waited till they've hatched, then you fed the chicks and made sure they have water and antifreeze and all checks, and then they grew up and flew away." Tom said, "I'm not sure you're supposed to give chickens antifreeze anyway." "No, said Minnie. "Nothing. Good night." Dad didn't come out even at closing time. Mam decided to try and cheer him up with fish supper from Mr. Chips. She brought me a cheese pie without asking. Marie had rice instead of chips because she's watching a figure. Minnie had bean sprouts with peas because she's so unusual. And we got Dad a huge haddock. When we got back, Dad said he wasn't hungry. Then I said, "We've got you a huge haddock." And he was persuaded. When we were all sitting down, Dad said, "I've got something to tell you, and it's this. The Snowdonia Oasis Auto Marvel is in trouble." Everyone started asking what kind of trouble. But he held his fork up and we all went quiet again. Today we've lost a valuable customer. Over the last year we've lost nearly all of our most valuable customers. And today we had a call from our petrol supplier. Normally they just put petrol in the tanks and collect the money once it's all sold. The problem is, we take an unusually long time to sell their petrol. They don't think it's worth coming up here anymore. They say the only way they'll give us petrol is if we pay up front. Now you can't have a garage with no petrol. So what I want to know is, what is Team Hughes going to do about this? Everyone in Team Hughes had a different idea. Marie's idea was to sell up and move to London so she could get famous and we could all be part of her entourage. I said, "We can't sell the garage. This is where we live. That's the whole point." "Besides," said Dad, "we wouldn't get that much for it. Not enough to move to London." Mum's idea was that we turned the Snowdonia Oasis into something more than a garage. If you look at our two competitors, she said, they're both more than garages. First, there's the filling station on the A496, and that's more than a garage because it's a little chef. And the other one is on the Blaino bypass, and that's more than a garage too because it's an Asda. But you can't just turn it into an Asda, said Dad. We could open a cafe or a bed and breakfast. We could call it the Mountain View. Dad wasn't convinced. The Mountain View in question is a bit grey, isn't it? It's not pretty. I said, it's not pretty, it's unique. Our mountain is inside out. That's true, said Dad, but I'm not sure it's an advantage. Minnie's idea was an insurance job. That's when you burn the garage down, say it was an accident, and then make a claim on the insurance. No one thought that was a good idea. You can't burn the garage down, said Mum. It's easier than you think, said Minnie. And she went into worrying detail about how to set fire to your own house. We're off to a head start with all this petrol lying about. All we need is some trained rats. You let them run under the floorboards with burning rags tied to the tails. Honestly, she did make it sound very easy. She even offered to go through the insurance policies and work out how much we get. But Dad put his foot down. We are not going to burn the Oasis down, he said. This is our home and Team Hughes is going to fight to keep that home. That's the whole point. Am I right? No, just keep it, said Mum. We're going to make it better than ever. We're going to make it grow. Grow into what though? Said Marie. We're going to make the Snowdonia Oasis Auto, said Mum, and she was glowing when she said it, into the premier indoor attraction in Manord. And everyone clapped. And Dad gave me some of his haddock.